Hey everyone, and you are joining us on the Overland Podcast. This is a live recording, so we are doing this video and we're doing it audio as well. So you may be watching us, you may be this, but this is where we are. For years, we've been traditionally a vehicle-based camping podcast, but now we're spreading out. We're growing our wings. We're doing some things because we have figured out that as long as we are traveling, we're doing other things. We're bike packing. We're backpacking. We're walking. We're fishing, fly fishing, doing all kinds of things just to get outdoors because we love the outdoors, even if it's just camping. No, we're not. We're not in RVs, but that's what we're doing. But the reason that there are so many amazing ways to explore our planet, that's why we want to spread out. No matter what method you use, you're traveling pretty much overland, and that's what we are called. So we do all kinds of things, and one of the things that my wife and I have recently gotten into is riding bikes, and I really wanted to explore this bike packing thing. I came across some videos on YouTube, and it kind of caught me off guard, and I'm like, they're pretty much just overlanding on bicycles, and I can't describe a better way for it. And so I wanted to come on and bring somebody who is actually living this life. Now, there are people out there who, and I'm going to talk to Will about this, who are out there doing a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube, a lot of posting, a lot of this stuff, and sometimes it seems like they're in it for the likes, the views, and not really in it for the lifestyle. Will is a little different uh, from what I've seen, so I want to bring him on and have him join me. So today on the podcast, we have Will FLOW Thompson. Will, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to
You
be
bet.
here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here, all the way up in New York. You're joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? What you do? As much as you want us to know. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I was born and raised in Mamaroneck, New York, where I am right now in my childhood home. And I went to school in Vermont. Just happened to be wearing this St. Michael's lacrosse shirt.
Hmm.
And then I moved out west after I finished university and lived in Bellingham, Washington for about a year. And then I traveled on and ended up back in New York, lived here for a couple of years, and then found myself back in Bellingham, Washington. And for about the last 5+ years, I've been working in special education. And throughout these last 11 years, I have been bike touring and bike packing whenever I can. So it's kind of been like a cycle of working
Yeah.
and riding.
What? How did you develop a love for bikes and all the kinds? I see you do all kinds of mountain bike. You've road bike. You've bike toured. How did that come? How did that become a part of your life and a love that you do?
That's a great question. I think I always loved biking. I remember my first bike as a child and
Hmm.
going, from the training wheels to the coaster brakes and learning how to ride a bicycle on my street out here. And being the youngest in the family, I would receive my brother's hand-me-down bikes, and I remember my brother going out mountain biking with
Hmm.
his friends, and I use that in quotation marks because it's not the world of mountain biking or the trail systems at other places in the world, like in the Pacific Northwest. But it's all we knew, and it was amazing. It still is, and so receiving his hand-me-down bikes, and then that freedom that the bicycle always gave me, it's it's really never left me. And I was late to get my license in high school. I lived close to the high school, and I was always that kid showing up to school on his bike,
Hmm.
showing up to parties on the weekend on his bike. I was always on the bike, and yeah, the freedom and joy that it brought me has never gone away.
Yeah.
So I think it's just those childhood, not memories, those childhood experiences of cycling, and that was just what I loved. And I remember, you can go up and down the street, and then you could go around the block,
Hmm.
and then you could go to the other street. You could go down Rockland Avenue and down Baldwin and come back around. And as a child, my world was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, block by block by block, and all from the seat of a bicycle. So that's
Wow.
really how I got into it, and that that uh, that never left.
That's so interesting. My wife and I. It was a few years ago that I was out of shape, overweight, and was doing on the treadmill. And where it got to a point where the doctor said, "Okay, you're either going to have a stroke or you're going to get in shape." So I decided to get in shape,
Wow.
and start walking on the treadmill, and then realized that, oh man, hiking is so much more fun than walking on the treadmill. You get outside, you see things, and I got out and started walking a mile. And we started doing hikes, a mile here, 2 miles here, 3 miles here. And then here we are years later. And my wife just asked me last night, she's like, okay, so where do you want to walk? Where do you want to ride this fall, when it gets cooler and the weather's better? And I said, I don't know. And I listed off some hikes, and she said, when did 10 miles become your minimum? And she said, we used to do like a mile. And so we're getting longer,
Hmm.
and we're getting longer. We want to see different things. And so that's interesting the way that you put it about getting block by block by block and just open it up. And now you're just, if you look on your Instagram page, you're all over the world, and we'll talk about your travel here in just a minute. Do you have any other hobbies that we don't know about? I did see a picture today of you in a hockey uniform. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
grew up playing hockey and lacrosse, and then played men's league hockey for a while. No longer really do that. Not living here in New York anymore. I do love uh, backpacking as well, and hiking, scrambling in the
yeah,
Cascades. Do a lot of that with my buddy Bob. He gets me out there. He's always like, "You want to go? You want to go do Black Peak this weekend?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna go biking." And he's like, "Will, you bike every day? Just come hiking." And I'm like, "Okay." I reluctantly do it, and I love it.
yeah.
And so I'm happy that he gets me out there and changes things up. Um, but that's pretty much it: biking and hiking.
That's cool. You mentioned Vermont, going to school in Vermont. We talked off air. My wife and I took a tour of the Northeast this summer, and I do believe that Vermont is now one of my favorite states. It is
Oh
so beautiful.
yeah. Hmm.
It was absolutely incredible to go up there and see, the White Mountains, and Mount Washington, and going over and crossing over into in Vermont, and the other states that were around it. It was actually an incredible, beautiful place up there. Everywhere
Yes.
you go, everywhere you go.
Yes.
Absolutely loved it. Cannot wait to go back. Plus,
Nice.
Vermont has a cheese tour,
Oh
and
yeah, the
we went
Cabot
on the
Cheese
cheese tour,
Factory.
and
Hmm.
it was incredible. We went to several of the little places, so I highly encourage people to look that up if you go up there. How did you get the name Flow? Tell me about the name Flow. I assume this is like a backpacker has a trail name. The bike packing is the same way. So how did that come about?
This is actually from the cross team. It's really funny that I'm wearing this shirt. I haven't worn it in years, and I just took it out of my drawer. And I had showed up to college freshman year for the lacrosse team, and had long hair, and the lacrosse bros nicknamed me Flo, and then that nickname just stuck. It's not my trail name. I got a trail name on the Appalachian Trail boombox, but I
found out I liked biking better than hiking, so I didn't make it very
That's the one you
far.
stuck with, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they nicknamed me Flo, and I went to a small school, 2,000 kids, so everyone knew me as Flo. Yeah, which is
Kind of
friends in New York know me as Willie T. My college buddies call me, Will or Will Flo. So it just kind
stuck.
That's awesome. Well, it's cool to be known by something that you can actually you know go with, and I love that. A lot of
of
people the names that they're given, and
right.
they. I was the professor for a long time because I taught college classes, but then I guess I said bro too much, and then they called me the professor, and it has stuck for years. I just cannot get rid of it. So that's it.
Right.
Um, let's talk about your bike. Now I've seen pictures of a couple different ones on your Instagram page. Is there one that you normally stick to when you travel now?
Uh, yes and no. When I'm doing my international bike tours, I always take my tumbleweed prospector. Um, it's a full rigid uh, mountain bike that is suitable with large tires,
Mm-hmm.
and so that with the internal roll off hub, and that is a really sturdy machine that's great for rough terrain. And if I'm doing more of a gravel oriented or road oriented tour, I'll take my Panorama Katahdin carbon gravel bike. Just kind of depends on the tour and the terrain, but primarily uh, if I'm going minus Scandinavia, it will be the tumbleweed prospector.
Okay, I think I've got a picture of it. That's the tumbleweed that you're talking about right there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's it.
full rigid mountain bike, so it does have like a flat bar mountain bike. It's not doesn't have the traditional like gravel bike bars on it.
Yeah,
And you do like the fat tires rather than the skinny tires when you're
yeah.
traveling overseas like that.
Without suspension, the 3 inch
Mm-hmm.
tires just kind of give it more cushion. I could put a small front fork on it, but I love the simplicity of it,
Yeah.
and that's the stock build that it came with. That's the first generation Prospector that he Daniels, the owner and builder, who came out with them in 2017, and I love it. It's been a
Oh, where
really.
where is that bike company located at?
He is currently in Idaho.
In Idaho. Okay. Well, in the world of travel, whenever you want to get from point A to point B, this is probably the most important piece of equipment that you own. It has to be reliable, has to be dependable. You have to know it inside and out because sometimes you're not only traveler, you're also repairman on it a lot of times. So uh, you know your bike inside and out. You know everything about it. Can you fix it on the road if something happens? Do you carry spare parts and things like that for it?
I'll be honest with you, it's a little embarrassing. For as much as I've toured, I should be more mechanically inclined. If I had a catastrophic failure, I could not fix it. Like if my brake line snapped, or well, I have hydraulic brakes on that now, so that's a whole
Mm,
different story. Even if it was mechanical brakes,
yeah.
I can do simple fixes, and but if it was a major failure, I would not be able to repair it. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to get the tumbleweed with the internal rear hub, so I don't have to
Mm,
deal with the derailleur and a cassette. It's all in there internally in the rear hub, so I don't have to worry about my derailleur getting bent and have to finagle with that and stuff, and all those other mechanisms that can fail. So that was one of the selling points of the Prospector was um, the simplicity of the roll-off hub and not having, the chance of a mechanical.
yeah. Is that your dream bike? The bike that you have? So let me put this out there to you. If money was no object and you could buy whatever you want as far as bikes are concerned, what would you be riding today?
I don't know. I don't know because I'm not like I'm not a gearhead or anything. But I would say like maybe some titanium bike because I know
Yeah,
those are really expensive
really
and
expensive. You know, it's
yeah.
crazy what bikes are selling for these days.
No,
I
it's
mean,
wild.
you could there's some bikes you could buy a car for or
Oh
buy
yeah.
a car cheaper than a lot of bikes. So, guys like me and you on a limited budget, limited income,
Hmm.
there's some things that we only dream about. We'll never be able
Mm.
to own unless, we get big and famous and somebody wants to give us one. Because
Yeah.
even if I was rich, I don't know if I could spend that much money on a bike. But I mean, even if that's your number one thing that you do and number one thing that you love, then there's always a dream of something
Yeah.
being out there.
I'd have to get back to you on that because I don't know. I don't know enough about. I mean, there are a lot of beautiful, sweet bikes
You're right. You're right.
coming out by independent builders and everything, and
You're
you
right.
could
And
you.
I see some all the time. And I guess social media has really driven that because there used to be only 4 or 5 major bike brands out there, and if
Hmm.
you had one, you had the bike. But now it seems like there's hundreds, and there's just boutique shops going out
Yeah.
all over the place,
I
putting out good product.
Yeah, and this is my other bike. It's my only my second full suspension bike I've ever owned, and I say this is the greatest bike in the world because it's all I know.
Right.
This tumbleweed prospector, it's all I know, and it's never failed me. So it's the best bike in the world, and
Yeah.
that's
Hey.
I'm half kidding, but
Oh yeah.
it's
I
my
totally get it.
opinion, but it's that's what it is.
I totally get it. And I was totally satisfied with what I had until a buddy of mine, he had it was specialized, but it was one of those real expensive carbon e-bikes. It was like a
Oh
$12,000 deal. And I'm like, man, I don't need an e-bike. I like the old school style stuff and he gave me this big long spiel about, I can ride 50 miles in the same day that you ride 20 miles because I have something helping me and I can see that much more stuff. I said, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I got on it and I tried it out. And man, that thing took off like a rocket. And I was like, nah, I don't know about this. And
yeah.
you're not really working. It's not really for me. So anyway,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
it
Mine
takes
is
away
mine is the mine is
from the
my favorite.
cycle.
Mine is my
Yeah,
favorite. I love it.
yeah,
I've got an old, it's about 12 years old Niner, and it is built like a tank. It's
nice.
heavy. I think I could drop it off the Empire State Building. It wouldn't bend it. It's just a tank, and I
Nice.
love it because it doesn't have suspension on it. It has the thick tires on it. I got a Jones bar going across the
Nice.
front that I love.
Comfy.
Yeah, so it is comfy, and so anyway, I'm getting there, and I'm coming at you like, man, this is all new to me, and I want to sit here and learn as much as I can because I'm just getting into this, and I don't want to screw up. I want to learn before I go anywhere. So let's talk. Let's talk gear. You said you're not a gearhead, but you've got some pretty cool. You've got some pretty cool packs on your bike that you take with you. Tell me about the packs that are on your bike that you use that you like.
Uh, yeah, I have a multiple different setups, and I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of different bags from certain bag companies, and there's I had a setup from Arkel Panniers. They're a outfit based out of Quebec, up in Canada, and I toured with their bags on the European Divide Trail. 100% waterproof,
Mm,
really solid attachment system, a great company. And I've had bags from a small uh, independent mom and pop shop in Bellingham, Washington called Loam Equipment, and they made me a custom frame bag. And I've used their seat pack and their handlebar bag. And Alan and his wife Rachel are awesome, awesome, incredible people. They make amazing gear,
yeah.
and yeah, that's the Loam Equipment setup right there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's their that's the custom frame bag they made me, and
That's cool.
the seat pack and the handlebar bag, and um, I've rode with a lot of different bags, and their attachment system on the seat pack that had like no wobble. really, really beautifully designed stuff.
That's
And
cool.
they're wonderful folks and love getting people out there on bikes.
Mm.
Um, and I recently just got a rack for my tumbleweed prospector, and on this upcoming tour, I'll go with 2 rear panniers, just because I'll need more carrying capacity. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing around with different setups for years and years, and I'm always evolving, and I too am always learning and changing the setup, and it keeps it interesting and exciting, and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
If I think I have it figured out, I don't, and then I'll start rearranging my stuff. My tent poles will live in my frame bag, and then maybe I'll put them in my handlebar bag. Or okay,
Mm.
that doesn't work. So it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. It's, when I got into overlanding, I had a Jeep that was just, I had a FJ Cruiser that was just totally stock. And I had little idea of what the cult following was and what overlanding was. And when I saw the vehicle based camping and how you can live out of your car, I fell in love with it because I love camping, I love hiking, I love backpacking, I love getting into the outdoors, off roading, all this other stuff. So building a vehicle is right up my alley. It's putting everything in there. I did a rear seat delete, took the rear seats out, put storage in. I put a refrigerator in. I put a kitchen in. Built a kitchen and it's got a rooftop tent where we sleep, and it's got hot water, it's got running water, it's got air conditioner, it's got a shower, it's got everything in this one little car. And so it putting a vehicle together is a lot like building your bicycle setup. You are carrying everything that you need to live,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot like backpacking as well, because just like having it on your back, you're carrying everything that you need to live for a certain amount of time, and you are self-sufficient for a certain amount of time. And so building a bike just completely enthralls me. I love it. The way that I love going and looking through Instagram and seeing, because every bike is specific to its owner. They build it what's comfortable for them, what
Mm-hmm.
they need. And I see, your setup has changed just a little bit, but it's pretty much stayed pretty much the same
Yeah,
over time. Now that you're going to be having panniers, that's going to change that up a little bit from the aero packs that you had.
for sure.
So I have panniers on mine in the front and the back, but I think I've actually got too much space. Have you found that you've actually carried too much space for what gear that you have? Have you ever run into that before?
Um, not particularly. I definitely know what you're saying. I mean, I think I've had times where like that picture from that Oaxaca, Mexico trip. I had the front forks were more, yeah, they that was I what am I trying to say is I was expecting I would have to carry more food than I did.
Yeah,
So I did have more carrying capacity than needed. But hey, it's always nice to have more than you need,
sure. Extra space.
than less than you need. Yeah.
And an empty bag really doesn't weigh that much, and so that's really not that bad. So on this setup right here, you've got the seat pack, yeah, you've got the frame bag, you've got the stuff in the front and the stuff on the
Hmm.
forks. What is where? Where are you carrying different items on this bike right now?
Oh, okay. So my sleep system is in the rear
Okay,
seat pack, which would be my
sleeping
sleeping
bag.
pad, my
Yeah.
sleeping bag, yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
my tiny inflatable pillow, and then probably like some layers.
Okay.
And then in the handlebar bag is my tent, and probably like an easily accessible layer, like a raincoat or an extra
Mm-hmm.
mid layer.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the fork bags is my stove, and probably my um, yeah. So like food, probably some other layers as well, and this
Mm-hmm.
and my kitchen setup. I was carrying on that trip. I was carrying a pound of coffee.
I'll
um,
get into that here in a minute. That
so
interests me. Yeah, that's part in my notes.
nice. And then in the frame bag is like tools and miscellaneous items, water bladder for extra water carrying capacity, and
Okay.
snacks and stuff.
Snacks. Do you ever carry anything on your back? Do you ever carry a backpack when you're riding?
No, I wear a fanny pack a lot, or what they call
Okay.
a hip pack these days.
Right.
But I really don't like to ride with a backpack, just because the sweat on your back and stuff.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
will definitely be trips that I will do in the future that are more MTB focused, and or Alpine MTB focused,
Mhm.
and I will wear a backpack. But for now, I've never did a long distance tour with a backpack.
So you have a water bladder that's in your frame pack.
Yeah, just like a 2 liter MSR water bladder that there's a certain name, like kind of like a platypus. That's not
Yeah.
the right name, but yeah. And my aunt bought it for me years ago, and she's not an outdoor person, but it's really nice that every time I take it out, I think of her, and
Yeah.
if I
That's
get
cool.
service, I'll send her a text message and just be like, hey, thanks a lot, Aunt Tina.
Yeah.
You're saving my life right now.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, on the coffee thing, I see you love coffee.
Love coffee.
How do you make your coffee normally? I saw AeroPress in one of
Yep.
your things,
Uh,
how do you normally make it? What's your method?
so at home or
Out on the trail, how do you make it?
out on the trail. Okay, so depending on the trip, I've used the instant coffee packets,
Hmm.
which are quite good. The Starbucks ones or the something Alpine. They sell them at REI. They're
Okay.
they're green. So just the instant coffee packets. I also have, which I can't find right now, like an MSR coffee filter. It's a plastic filter, really lightweight, and put the coffee grounds in there and just add the water. And then I also, a long time ago, I had a GSI coffee filter set up, which was really lightweight but kind of flimsy, and it
Yeah.
was a pain to clean the grounds out.
Yeah.
So most recently, I've really been enjoying that MSR. I think it's just called the MSR coffee filter, and just kind of put it and it has like the arms that hang on the top of the
Yeah.
top of the mug, and just
Okay.
and pour the
So
hot
it's a
water
pour
in there.
over. Yeah, it's a pour over.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I noticed that you really do enjoy local coffees. When you travel out of the country and you go to different places, if you can find a local coffee, you're all about it. And I'm the same way. I am,
100.
man, getting the local food, the local coffee, that is immersing yourself into the culture about as much as you can. And I absolutely love that. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so good. So
that's
good.
what it's all about.
You're right. You're right. And I love that you told me how many pounds of coffee you were carrying, because I'd be the same way.
Well,
I'd be
because
the
I
exact
mean,
same way.
it was overkill, but I was in Oaxaca, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna, because I know a lot in my experiences in Central and South America, a lot of the smaller communities, they don't have a large coffee selection.
Yeah.
The locals drink instant coffee,
Yeah.
and which I don't have a problem with at all. I just traveled in Ecuador for a month without a stove, so I drank a lot of instant coffee, and then it was always such a treat when I would get to a larger town, and I could have more, let's call it artisan coffee.
Yeah.
But in Oaxaca, I was like, oh, let me, before I leave Oaxaca and go into the Sierras, let me get a coffee, or rather a bag of coffee. So I
Yeah.
went to a roaster, and I was trying to, and I speak some Spanish, but I didn't know how to say ground coffee
Yeah.
rather than whole bean
Yeah.
coffee.
You
So
don't carry a grinder with you everywhere you
yeah, no,
go,
I'm
right?
not. I'm definitely not a coffee snob, man. No, I love coffee, but I'm not a coffee snob. So, yeah, and they ground it up for me, and I took that on the road. So it is always good to have that
That's cool.
stash.
I love it. I love it. Well, I've done just about everything. On Amazon, you can get the throwaway pour over filters. You can get the tea bags where you can put it in there and do the tea bags and stuff. But it's really hard to beat the instant as far as the lightweight and easy to carry. And you're right. It used to not be great, because when I was a kid, I would see my grandfather. I'd get up and my granny would be cooking breakfast, and he'd be sitting there with his Nescafe, and he'd be pouring grounds in hot water, and I was like, that don't look good at all. What in the world? And he'd drink that every day. Nescafe. I'll
Yeah.
never forget that. But now, uh, the instant coffee is good. It's
Yeah.
really good. And you figure out how much water you need per packet, and it's not bad at all.
Hmm.
So you said you went to Ecuador, you didn't carry a stove. I noticed that you drank some coffee and you put it in water that was not hot. Did you drink cold instant coffee in the mornings?
No, no, I would. The thing about Ecuador actually was I was cycling for about 30 days and I used my tent one night, and
Wow.
every other night I found accommodation. And so I would stay. I didn't wild camp at all, like I said, one night. And everybody travels differently. And
Hmm.
I understand that, and I respect it. And for me, I enjoy, if it's in the budget, going to a town,
Yeah.
getting a hot meal, and some warm accommodation. So that was how the trip ended up panning out. And so I would just drink hot coffee in town.
Oh, I love it. What other pieces of gear do you travel with that you love? What's your tent? What kind of tent do you use?
I have a big Agnes. What is it called? Big Agnes. It's like a fly. Tiger. Oh, sorry. Big Agnes Tiger Wall
The Tiger
UL2.
Wall?
The
Yeah.
Tiger Wall. Yeah.
UL2? Yeah.
Yep.
I see that one a lot. And going from backpacking to bike packing, that's going to be probably the only thing that I'm going to have to change. Most of my backpacking stuff will move across the spectrum into bike packing because
Yeah.
it's light, it's small. But for bike packing, you don't carry trekking poles, and all of my tents are trekking pole tents. And so
Hmm.
to get something that's freestanding, I've been looking at the Big Agnes. Those seem to be the most popular ones that are out there as far as weight
Yeah.
is concerned.
And there's some sales going on that I saw recently online and stuff. I got mine on sale. I really try not to buy anything full price.
No,
Um,
never,
yep.
never.
Yeah.
Always looking for sales. I stock up on Black Friday. You can get good stuff then. You said you didn't carry a stove with you, but when you do, what kind of stove do you carry?
Uh, I have, depending on where I am, really. So I've carried an alcohol stove
Mm.
in certain parts of the world. If I'm in North America, I'll carry just a. I have a tiny little. My buddy got it for me. It's like $10 on Amazon, and it's like, think of it like the MSR Pocket Rocket, but
Yeah,
so much smaller and lighter,
yeah,
and just screws right onto the white gas
right.
canister. So that I've been using that for a while, and like it's so small and light that you could even carry like an additional one if you were on a long tour where
Mm.
white gas was readily available in case something happened, because it's a little bit cheaper. Um, and So pretty much either no stove, an alcohol stove, or the small little screw-on canister stove.
And do you decide what you take depending on the availability of fuel?
Exactly. Yeah, depending on where I'm going in the world, and depending on the tour and the availability of services, and kind of what setup I'm trying to go with.
Yeah.
That'll make my decision. So if I'm going somewhere that those gas canisters that we have here in North America are not available, I won't be bringing any sort of stove that is that compatibility.
I notice you use I believe it's a Garmin Edge.
Uh, oh, my
Your
computer.
bike computer, yeah.
Oh, I have a Wahoo.
Okay, it's a Wahoo.
Yeah, I used the Garmin Edge years ago.
Maybe it was an older picture that I saw that. Okay.
Yeah, and then now I have a Wahoo. It's held up. It's held up really great. Sometimes, I think like 2 days in Ecuador, I had to like turn it on and turn it off and turn it back on for the GPS to load. But which can be frustrating. But that's such a small little
Yeah.
nuisance.
Have you had any issues with it working overseas at any other countries?
No, no. Aside from just like, yeah, waiting for the
Waiting for the
GPS to,
satellites to catch
yeah,
up? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's about like, yeah, like I said, 2 days. Just kind of had to acquire the signals. Took a couple minutes, turn it off, turn it on. Patience.
Yeah. Patience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems like I pray for that every day.
right.
What about food? What food do you take? Snacks and stuff, and food that you're going to cook. What do you normally pack?
Um, it's usually different every trip, but my buddy and his wife, they gave me a bunch of Quest bars before I
Yeah.
left on my last tour, so those kind of held me over when I was in a pinch. And I'll try to get, like I said, depending on where I'm going, but I'll try to get some bars here in the United States and pack those in the bag. And I'll usually carry like a Mountain House as an emergency meal, and I had the granola one, so I didn't have hot water for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am carrying a stove, I'll probably bring one or two emergency Mountain House meals, and and then in country, I'll grab like some tortillas and some other food. I mean,
Tortillas and peanut
I've
butter.
yeah, tortillas and
That
peanut
seems to
butter.
be the go-to thing is tortillas and peanut butter.
Yeah, a lot of protein, and you'd be
Yeah.
surprised how expensive peanut butter is in
Oh, I imagine.
certain countries.
Can't
Um,
imagine.
but yeah, I've made food mistakes before. I remember on the European Divide Trail, I didn't bring a stove, and I was sick of my food on day three.
Mm.
That didn't
I
go
see
well,
that a
and
lot.
it's hard to read Swedish and Norwegian, and I bought some of the wrong stuff. It was not what I thought it was. But yeah, I made it through. Kind of just swallowed it down. It was like these pastes. I remember this one like in particular. It was called like bacon paste.
Oh.
Put that on a tortilla. It was pretty brutal. And I'm not a foodie or a food snob, but I was like, this stinks. So I was always grateful to get to town
Yeah.
and eat some proper food. So that was a trip, honestly, that I wish I carried a stove on, but I did run into an amazing gentleman from France, my buddy Damien, and we cycled on and off together for a while. And as a classic Frenchman, he was cooking elaborate meals, and
Oh yeah.
I was very very lucky to be with him and sharing hot coffee, and I
Yeah.
mean, this guy, he was slicing up peppers in the back country.
Goodness.
He had Parmesan cheese, like,
That's a nice person to meet on the trail and befriend. That is.
yeah, it sure was. And then
Uh,
here's this American with bacon paste, and I was just like,
did
this
you try to
checks.
trade him? You tried to here, use this. I'll trade
I
you
tr-
some.
I tried.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Well, travel is such a huge part of this lifestyle. There's so many places in the world that you can travel on a bicycle, and I had no idea, until I started watching YouTube and seeing about. And I've got a book about the hundred best bicycle trips in the world. And I
Oh
looked
yeah.
through here and see this, and um, I watched a video of yeah, I think it was Liam Gardner was his name. He traveled from Alaska to Argentina on his bike, and then some of his buddies flew down to South America. Took him a bunch of bike parts because he had broken his derailleur, and he was on a single speed for like 300 miles in Central America. And so they fixed his bike, and then they went fly fishing for a little while, and then they all sent their stuff home, and then he rode to the tip because he wanted to ride to the tip, and it just blew my mind about all the different things that you could do.
Mm.
The things that you could travel, the ways you could travel, the things that you could do, and it was just incredible. So there's so many places you can go. How do you decide where you want to go next? Do you have a list? Do you have a bucket list of people, places that you want to go?
Yeah, not written down anywhere, but I definitely got a long list of places, and keeps growing and changing. And most recently I've been well, I wanted to do the Trans Ecuador for a long time, and it was always on my mind. And for me, I'll look at a route, I'll do some research, and I'll look at those seasons. And working in education for a while, it was always dependent on the summer season of between the months of end of June
Right.
through
Yeah.
beginning of
Same
September.
with me. Same with
Right.
me. So June and July, I'm just like, don't call me,
Right.
don't do anything because I'm gonna be gone. I'm disappearing from normal world.
Right.
This is when I travel. And Central America is a great place to go in our summer because it's if you get down towards the equator, it's winter down there and it's a
Yeah.
lot cooler. And
Exactly.
so yeah, I was wondering why Ecuador. So tell me about the Trans Ecuador.
So yeah, it was just was thinking about it for a while, and it's like, okay, you can't go to Spain in August, so that's out.
Yeah.
Too hot. And looked at the if it was the right time to ride it, and then I look at flights, and I look at flights to I was also thinking about Peru, and so I was looking at flights to Lima, and I was looking at flights to Quito, and other places around the world. And when I find an affordable flight, and I sit and I really really think about it, and as soon as I book that flight, I'm going.
Hmm.
And then from there, everything else will fall into place. But once I commit, financially commit with the flight, because uh, I, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I'll be like, oh, I'm thinking about going to Ecuador. Oh, I was looking at the route, or anything like that. But once that flight is booked, it's happening. Or else I'll have to lose that money. So, but yeah, pretty much just like a little bit of research based on the weather, and then also more recently I've been traveling based on where the American dollar can go
Yeah,
farther.
exactly. Which is not very far these days, it seems
Yeah.
like. Um, do you ever like get a contact there, or do you plan all of your routes when you go overseas? Do you plan all of your routes yourself, and you're just like, I'm going here. This is where I need to start. This is where I need to finish. Or do you get a contact over there, or somebody to help you out to try to make sure you're on the right track or everything goes well? How does that work?
Uh, that's a great question, and different answer for different places around the globe. But
Mm,
for the Trans Ecuador, I followed the route from BikePacking.com, so they have a lot of resources on there.
mm,
Points of interest, and this town has this in it.
mm,
Small tienda, small store. This town has full resupply restaurants.
mm.
Grocery store, markets, and so that helps you pinpoint what services are out there. And I mean, it makes navigation a breeze. I mean, you got a GPS,
Mhm.
downloaded on your phone or your bike computer, and it makes it for really simple navigational travel,
Yeah,
and peace of mind. And
true.
for the upcoming trip, I've been reaching out to a lot of contacts that I found on Instagram that have cycled there, or um, I'm reaching out to warm showers contacts, to the people who host touring cyclists, or reaching out to cycling organizations, or Bureau of Tourism,
Yeah.
any contact that I can reach out to, um, family members, or rather family friends who have traveled
Mm.
and to that part of the world, and I'll reach out to them, and then they'll put me into contact with someone they know, or tell me about their experiences there. So just really using everything that I have available to me
Mm.
in my arsenal, to try to figure out these things, because
Yeah.
for a lot of places around the world, I'll do a little bit of research, and I get there, and no pun intended, I go with the flow,
Yeah.
and it's always worked out, and I believe it always will. But I just think some places require more preparation,
Agree. I
for
agree.
for logistics.
I agree. I actually was going to bring up that the website, and I've got it downloaded on my phone. The bikepacking.com is amazing. The
Yeah.
information that's on there that you can get on there, and it is worldwide. There's so many things and so many routes that are being uploaded. It's just blowing up. Seems like every day.
Yeah, it's an amazing resource. I've been proud to be a member since day one, since they started the collective. So I get the bikepacking journals twice a year in the mail. It's a beautiful
Mm,
publication, and just really happy to support those folks over there because they do a lot for just for the not for the industry but for the
yeah,
bikepacking world.
yeah, for the family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you released to anybody anywhere where you're about to go?
Not online. Just friends and family. I'm going to flying into Nairobi, Kenya, and I will be doing a cycle route in Kenya, and then from there I'll be cycling south. Not sure where I'll end up. Just gonna take it day by day, play it by ear. If I'm tired and sick and done, I'll come home. If I'm having a good time, I'll keep traveling south. The goal would be to bike from Kenya to South Africa. That's the main goal. But like I said, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I'm not saying I'm cycling to South Africa. I'm just gonna go to Africa and see how it goes. So that's what I was saying earlier about the more logistics, the more
Right.
planning.
Right.
I got my yellow fever vaccine, and I just feel like I can't show up to Africa like I could show up to South America. I think there's just certain hurdles and obstacles that one faces when you're cycling on a different continent.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. You just gotta. Uh, this is where I'm going to start, and the ending is kind of up in the air. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see
and
what happens.
I have to do more research. There's
Yeah.
the yellow, like I said, the vaccine and just the border crossings and the visas,
Yeah.
that little things like that.
Yeah. That's incredible. What drew you to Kenya out of all the places in the world? Why there?
Yeah, once again I found a really cheap flight, so
Oh well.
uh,
Yeah.
that really kind of was like ooh, and I sat on that for a while. I didn't book it, but I was like ooh, and then um, I was just I was like okay, where can I go at this time of year?
Right.
So kind of the northern hemisphere was locked off with the
Mm-hmm.
incoming fall and winter, and I thought about Spain and thought about some looked at like a flight to Kathmandu, and that was quite
Mm,
expensive.
yeah.
And I just kind of was like, I've always wanted to go to Africa, and after just completing the Trans Ecuador, which was a really physically demanding route,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, I think I'm ready, and I think I was off that high
Mm,
from the Trans Ecuador, and I didn't I was telling you earlier off air, I didn't get a teaching job. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, I could not sit around. I could be in Washington State, or I could, I still have a little bit of money in the bank. So let me maybe capitalize on this and
Mm,
go to Africa. It
yeah.
was, it was like a pretty, um, what's the word that I want to use here? It was a pretty quick decision.
Yeah.
Just cycling today, I was like, it kind of keeps hitting me. I'm like, wow, you're going to
You're going to
you're,
Africa.
you're going to Africa, yeah. So
Oh man,
so
that's
that
so neat.
yeah, and the Trans Kenya, um, or I'm sorry, the Kenya Bikepacking Odyssey. It was originally called the Trans Kenya, but it doesn't go across the country. But that's a
Okay.
1,000 kilometer, 650-mile route that I'll be following for the beginning of the trip.
That's awesome. I love it. Any more trips? So I'll go back to the same question I asked you about the bike. If money was no object, which it all the time is, but if money was no object, and you have a dream trip, where would you go?
Hmm. Dream trip, money was no. I would say like the Alps.
Ah, Swiss.
The Swiss, the French, the Italian Alps,
And
because
money
it's a
would have to be no object because it's so expensive there. In that part of Europe, it's just outrageous.
Exactly.
That's why I've
That's
never been there.
Yeah, me too, dude. That's
Yeah.
why like you're like why are you going to Ecuador? And
Yeah.
well, because the dollar
Yeah.
goes a lot further than
Exactly.
the Swiss Alps.
I've been to Africa before, and you exchange $100 US, and they give you a suitcase full of money. And you go to that part of Europe, and they give you some coins. You know, it's totally different. It's it's crazy cool. Uh, that's awesome. I believe that, and I want to switch gears a little bit. I saw something today. Of course, I did all my research on your Instagram. That's where I get to know people. You know, wherever they're at. I believe that health is a huge part of what we do. It makes what we love easy, or it makes it hard, and greatly affects our quality of life. Amount of joy that we have in what we do. Do you train for your passion of bike packing? I know you
uh,
said you rode around today. Do you just do that because you love to do it, or do you count that as training?
um, not not like training that you would think of as like a serious cyclist. I know guys and girls out there who are on their trainer in their house and who like hook up their heart rate monitors and stuff
Yeah.
and do like strength training and interval training and proper cycling training. I just ride my bike, and I do some stretching and yoga. Definitely need to do more of that,
Mhm.
but no, I don't. I don't train. I just ride my bike and
Just get out there and ride.
all sorts of different bikes. All like you were saying earlier, all different disciplines.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I look at, you were talking about how the Ecuador trip was a very strenuous um, ride, and I get on there on the backpacking apps and the bike packing apps, and they rate them how hard they are, and sometimes it makes me go, "Ooh, I don't know about that," and I wonder if I'm in shape. Of course, I'm 53 years old. You don't have the age that I do, but and I'm probably in the best shape of my life because we walk every day, we ride every day, and we try to keep that up. We don't really train, but we try to keep exercising so we don't lose what we have.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I mean. I know you're not in the gym every day, but you ride often, uh,
Yeah.
you know, and so that keeps us going. I also want to congratulate you as while we're talking on the health part. I saw you made a post about it, so it's not anything secret. 6 years,
6 years sober.
6 years sober. Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
How has being sober helped fulfill this part of your life?
Oh, it's it's just made it more enjoyable. It's really just made me more present.
Yeah.
Because I used to cycle when I was an active alcoholic, bike tour and everything. And my experiences are different these days. Well, one I could
Yeah.
remember every moment of the trip, which is really nice. I know where I'm going to sleep and where I'm waking up, and uh, my the interactions that I have with people are different. I'm not going to bars. I'm going to coffee shops,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just allows me to allows me to be I'm fully there. I'm fully integrated. Like I was saying earlier, I'm present. Hopefully, I'm radiating energy, positive energy.
Mm.
Energy of love, that I wasn't able to do when I was drinking. Um, so yeah,
Incredible.
it's a beautiful way to see the world. In my experience, and it helps me be a better human being and try to do the next right thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. We can keep up with you on your Instagram at FLOW Thompson. If you haven't seen that, you need to check that out. Give him a follow because I'm sure there's going to be some pretty amazing photos that will be coming up there. Does it make you? And I just thought of this just a minute ago. So you've got your bike in a box ready to be shipped to a place that you've never been before. Does that make you nervous? whether it's going to show up or not, whether it's going to be bashed into a million pieces, do you ever get nervous about that? Because that makes me nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it didn't show up for 2 weeks in Norway. It didn't make it from Oslo up to Kirkenes in the north on the border with Russia, and then the airline went on strike. So that was a pretty stressful situation. But you know, I've learned I've had to let go of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if this comes from learning it in 12-step programs such as AA and stuff, but letting go and things that are out of my control. And yeah, the box right now it's all beat up in the other room right there. But so I'll have to reinforce it. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's nerve wracking, and it's not in your hands. And so
Yeah.
you can only pack it as best you can. And I've traveled the bike so much that I know that if I pack it right, like it's gonna get beat up and it's gonna get banged up. But it's like I've been fortunate; nothing's ever broke.
Yeah.
And so I think that offers me peace of mind knowing how I pack it. But yeah, it's a little it's a little stressful.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's like two huge holes in this box here. So I'll just have to reinforce it with more duct tape and cardboard. And yeah, it's got one more flight. It's got New York to Amsterdam with a couple hour layover, and then Amsterdam to Nairobi, Kenya. So we're fingers crossed. Do some reinforcement, and
Now,
it's a really tough bike.
do you carry that? Are you able to check that on the plane? Like, does that travel with you, or do you ship it through a courier service?
I almost always bring it on the plane, and I just usually charge a bicycle fee, and which is like depending on the airline, 150 bucks. I got away for a long time with like not getting charged a bicycle fee, which was really nice. And yeah, but this most recent trip I used bikeflights.com, and they'll will ship your stuff all over the world. So I
That's
used
cool.
through UPS, and then I thought it'd be better. And then when the box showed up in the shape it did, I was like, oh, maybe I should have brought it on the plane. But it is nice not to go to the airport and go to oversized luggage and check in.
Yeah.
It's a whole it's a big process with the bike bag. So it was nice actually to fly without that cumbersome piece of equipment.
Yeah.
But the airlines are pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I've been thinking so much, getting back to following you on Instagram. I've been thinking a lot lately about this whole contrast about when people do things such as bike pack or overland or backpack for whatever reason. Um, sometimes I wonder if they actually enjoy what they do, or whether they do it, for the views or for the subscribers or whatever. So I wanted to ask you before we finish up, um, how do you balance posting on social media with the enjoyment of being in the moment?
Yeah, I that's a great question, Joe. Because I feel like I feel like I could curate a bigger picture. I could curate more content if I took the time out of the moment and I set up because I do a lot of these trips solo.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know that. So I think I could. That's a good place to put the camera. That's not good. I think I could um, produce more content if I went ahead and I set up the phone and I hit record, and then I could cycle that section, or I could set up the phone. And I did it twice in Ecuador. I was on a little bit of hike a bike on the Trans Ecuador. Some really steep sections that are just you could ride them or you could hike them, or sometimes it just gets too steep or too windy, and you're using the same amount of energy. So it's nice to take your bike for a walk. And so I remember one time I went up ahead and I put the phone on a rock and I hit record, and I walked back to my bike and I picked it up and I did the hike a bike. And then another time, and within the like next 5 minutes, I did that again, and I just was creeping up the hill, and it and I've done that on the Colorado Trail and stuff, and it never. I think the social media that we see and that high quality content and those mountain bikers shredding the trail and stuff, that is like the content that we see is so professional, and it's so high quality, it's so well done and edited. And so when I see like the clip that I made, I'm like, oh, this isn't cool. And so I don't post it, and it does take me out of the moment, and I'll never stop on a downhill like to get a picture of me riding. So I'll film some clips. I actually made a little minute and a half video of the Trans Ecuador Route, just playing around with some video edits and a voiceover. And I'll try to get that to you. The attachment file is like I have to figure out how to send it. But I just did it on iMovie. So it does take away from the moment, and it also with the local people. I would love to get more photos and get more interactions, and I think the dream is like to you see some of these productions, and they got like a crew with them, and I think that would be so cool. I'm not there yet, but I would love to tell my story, and that's what I'm doing here, and I'm honored to be doing that.
Well, it's one of the things that I love about looking at your content, because it really shows that you are truly living in the moment and love what you do. That's one thing I admire about you, and one of the reasons I wanted you to come on here. It's just cool. But anyway, man, I appreciate you so much for coming on here with me. It's been great to just sit down with you, get to know you a little bit better, just have a conversation with you. Somebody who's doing what I aspire to do and I can learn from, and that means a lot. And I appreciate you taking your time to do that.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's really cool experience. My first time ever doing this. So I enjoyed it. It was great. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun to just sit and talk about something that you love, and getting to know other people. And I've thoroughly enjoyed learning from you. And I learned from pictures. I learned from talking, and I truly have gotten a lot out of this. And I want you to know that I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you very much. I wish you all the best in your travels to Kenya. I think it's going to be epic, and I hope everybody will get on there and give you a follow so they can see what you're doing, because it will be worth our time to do that. So, everyone, I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoyed Will and our conversation here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I hope you've gotten that as much of it out of it as I have. This is something completely new to a lot of us, but there's some people that are going to tune in that actually love this and can learn something as well. And I'm eager to learn more, and that's why I wanted to have you on here. Thank you, Will, again for being on here. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks.
Everyone, we're signing off on the Overland Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to us. We are getting out of here. Hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, when I end the show, I want you to look out for number 1 and never step in number 2. See you.